are live on YouTube. We'll let you know in 5 minutes.
Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning and welcome. If you're new to First Unitarian Church, you are most welcome. We are a liberal religion that is open to everyone. We welcome whoever you are, as the song says, wherever you come from. It doesn't matter. We love having you here. We come together to be spiritual. We come together to support one another, to love one another. If you are new, in the IMRAC in front of you, there are some information pieces. There's a yellow card that you can fill out and give us your contact information, and we will include you in our UUFYI weekly email that lets you know what's going on here at the church and how you may be able to participate. There's also information. There's a bookmark that has the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. So all kinds of information. We invite you to please take the information. If you have any questions, let us know. Any one of us will be happy to talk to you. Our COVID-19 task force met recently and updated the guidance for First Unitarian during this continuing pandemic. Among several changes that will be in effect as long as cases continue to be less than 50 per 100,000 per day in Lucas County are: 1, that masks are now optional if you have been vaccinated/boosted, but masks are still encouraged. Please respect our vulnerable population and remember that folks may be immunocompromised or not able to be vaccinated. And if you are not vaccinated, please continue to wear a mask when you are in this building. Another change is that coffee hour will be available after the service if we have kitchen helpers. Please be kind and patient and follow directions which may change as we redevelop our routines. There is no need to put tables away at this time to make it easier for those using Fellowship Hall while we still have light attendance. Our congregation's annual meeting will be held this spring. It will be in person, tentatively, depending on COVID status. Please set aside May 22nd, 2022 at 1 p.m. at First Unitarian Church of Toledo for a discussion of our budget and further plans for the building, fellowship, programming, and religious education for children and adults. Part of the planning of the annual meeting will be the work of the nominating committee, considering who among the congregation could be asked to serve in leadership roles. Your vote as a pledging member at the annual meeting is important, very important. If you are not comfortable in person, we would encourage you to use the proxy voting process for people who are not able to attend in person. I believe Arun has an announcement now.
Just an update on the search for a director of religious education. I'm happy to state that we interviewed a candidate and we have recommended her hiring to the church. And so we hope that that will take place this week. And next Sunday, we will be able to introduce that person to all of you and look forward to RE being started again, full-time RE being started again at the church. So we're very, very excited about that, and I hope all of you will be here to welcome the new director of religious education next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun.
Before you make your final announcement, I just want to welcome you back, Terry McCauley. Terry was a Sunday associate before the pandemic came into our lives, and he is back now. First time, there's a little bit different for him. We have a bank of lights here. We have a different setup for the chancel. We have television and other things like that that he did not have to deal with before. But I'm glad that our volunteers are beginning to come back and be involved with the congregation again. That is a good step, and welcome, Terry.
Thank you. And remember that next Sunday, a week from today, daylight saving time begins. Aren't we excited? Spring forward with your clock set 1 hour ahead, which means we lose an hour and won't get it back until November change to standard time. Don't forget. Now that you've heard some announcements, let's start the service proper. I have these opening words: Experience Connection by Peter Morales. What does deep spirituality feel like to you? Spirituality is impossible to define and difficult to describe. For me, it feels like connection to myself, to others around me, to the earth and all of creation. Connection to myself feels like deep peace, awareness, calm, authenticity. Connection to others feels like compassion, community, acceptance, and enduring love. Spirituality is not an idea, it is an experience. When I experience connection, dividing lines disappear. Inner conflict gives way to integrity. The line that separates my individuality from others fades. We become one. I find connection with my deepest self in times of solitary practice and reflection. I find connection with others in community, often in worship. All the great spiritual traditions teach this. Today, the connection with creation, with the earth, and the cosmos may be the most difficult. We live in artificial, controlled environments that separate us from the natural world. More than humans in any other time, we live separated from the natural world, the world from which we emerged and that sustains our lives. We so very much need to experience our world. We need to let go of controlling our world and allow ourselves to become one with it. We find ourselves when we lose ourselves. May we connect, really connect. When we do, it changes everything.
And as Terry lights the chalice, I have these words by Catherine Callahan. As the chalice is lit, let us come together into the sacred space we have created. Let the cares of the day fall away and know that here is a place for quiet reflection, for a pause in our lives, for breathing into our true selves. Let what is said and felt here add richness to the dimensions of our lives and spiritual practices. We are strong together in community. We share the experience of being human. Let the warmth of the chalice lit during our time together connect us and carry us into the world. And if you would recite the covenant of this congregation with me, love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn this morning is number 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey.
Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their prime. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the hearth fire pilgrims new. Find the Spirit always restless, find it in each mind made new. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a new found truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Hearth behind us, always hostile, built it by those who knew the wild roads. Guard we ere their sacred embers, carried in our minds and hearts.
Today's story. Faith is like a walking stick, by Gary Kowalski, adapted. Here is what he wrote. How many of you like to go hiking? I have a number of walks near where I live that I like. Hunger Mountain, Snake Mountain, and others. Or if I don't want to drive, I can just go down to the local park, where in just a few steps you can forget you're in the city. Sometimes we hikers bring a dog along, and some of the dogs are as strong and fast as they aren't as strong and fast as they used to be. But that's okay, because I'm not as young and fast as I used to be. I'm reminded to slow down. A walk in the woods isn't a race. It's not all about seeing how fast you can go or how quickly you can get to the end of the trail. A walk can be like a meditation, a series of moments to be aware of all the sights and sounds along the way. If you're in too big a hurry, you forget to hear the birds sing and might not see that little mushroom growing under the tree, the one with the yellow cap. But even when you take your time, a walk can sometimes be tough going. What if it starts to rain? And what if there's a wet, soggy, boggy place where the stepping stones are few and far between? Well, in those cases, I've found a couple of things that help. First of all, it helps to have a friend or two along, because then even if it starts to pour and the raindrops are trickling down your nose, you can always sing a song together. And it's hard to feel sorry for yourself when you're singing an old Beatles song. And for those soggy, boggy places, if you can't have a friend along, there's nothing like a walking stick, which helps you keep your balance, and whether you're walking uphill or down, makes you a little steadier on your legs. Walking sticks makes me think about our faith. Unitarian Universalism, excuse me, which is a little different from other religions, because for us, life is like a long walk or a journey. It starts when we're little children and just learning about our world, and then grows as we grow. With each step, we're always gathering more information and gathering more experiences, finding out about ourselves, and as we explore our beliefs, change. The things we imagined might be true when we were 6 years old are different from the dreams we have when we're 60. And none of us is just certain where or how the trail ends, or what we'll find when we finally reach the mountaintop. But we know that other people have walked this way before, and that gives us the hope and courage to continue the adventure. Now, just like on a long trail, life sometimes gets a little tough and can even be scary. And that's why it helps to have friends and a spiritual community like this one. And at times we start to lose our balance and begin to fall down. Then it's handy to have a walking stick along. Unitarian Universalism, or religion, is like a walking stick. It's not a religion that solves all our problems. It's not a religion that can magically lift us over the muddy places. It's not a religion that spares us the necessity to dig deep and struggle when there's a big boulder we have to climb over or other challenges come along. But it is a religion that can help us keep our equilibrium, that help us keep our feet on the ground, which reminds us when the going gets hard that each of us is strong, each of us is resilient, each of us is capable. However we identify our gender, our ethnicity, our race, whether we're big or little. And Unitarian Universalism is a faith that encourages each one of us to find and make our own beliefs, not a one-size-fits-all religion, but one we constantly tool and retool as we go. So I have a personal walking stick, and each of you will have the opportunity to make your own walking stick, just the right size and weight, the right thickness so you can have a firm grip, to help you go wherever you need to go. And as Unitarian Universalists, you too can find and make a religion you can call your own.
Our centering music today is in the Teal hymnal. It's 10:11. We recently had a piece that was a simple round. We talk a little bit about affirmations and of simple songs. And I encourage you to find these simple little rounds we can sing to ourselves and with each other as a means to ground yourself in the breath, in the body, and maybe if it's helpful for your own little walking stick. So this is Return Again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. You can pick your favorite line. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Please join me for our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Much is on our minds this week. For some of us especially, is the situation in Ukraine, a country being invaded by a neighboring country, and all the efforts to defend Ukrainian people and to support so many people as they leave the country and seek refuge elsewhere. And of course, health is on our minds, in some ways, mine especially. We have joys and sorrows, celebrations and concerns throughout the people in this congregation. And we meditate, contemplate, and pray for deep spirituality and engagement in this world. Our words today are adapted from Matthew Johnson. For 5,000 years or more than 15,000 generations, human beings have been invoking spiritual power. My predecessors and yours have gathered together to make sense of their lives and their place in the cosmos. And they have spoken aloud and invited what they conceived as sacred and powerful to be with them. They called upon the spirits of air and earth, fire and water. They called the bear and deer. They asked for the raven to protect them. They pleaded for the heroes of old to slay the monsters of their fears. They sang songs they learned from their grandparents and moved in the appointed ways or in ways that were new but felt like the right thing to do. And they imputed power to these spirits and to the memories of those heroes. They called them gods, and they were invoked. Vishnu and Kali Elohim, Odin, and 100 million others, every group of people everywhere. They gathered to make sense of their lives and to make sense of their place in the cosmos. And they called these spirits to be present with them. And so do we. So do we. We gather this morning to make sense of ourselves and this universe in which we live as best we are able. And we call ourselves to worship together. And we invoke the power and wonder of life itself, that to which all those spirits of animals and memories of heroes pointed the way. We invoke that power, which is, we know, always around, always with us, but which we sometimes forget about. We forget that we are part of the whole of creation. We forget that we are stardust. We forget that we are capable of miracles, first among them that we can love. We forget these things, so we invoke the power of existence so that we can remember, so we can lift our eyes and open our ears to the true and beautiful. For 5,000 years or more, we have done this in many tongues, in many ways. We have done this. And so we continue that ancient tradition in our way and in our time. At this time, let's observe 1 minute of silence.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our reading is by John Saxon. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and busyness of our daily lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day and the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, for it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the the spirit of hope, the spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and to me. It's calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater service, greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to beauty. It's calling us to laugh and dance and sing. It's calling us to live through the life of pain and sorrow. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love, and to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It's calling us into community. It's calling us into the greater life of all. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling.
Today, I'm encouraging you to be spiritual. There's a lot that goes on in church and in our religious lives that doesn't necessarily include our spirituality. And sometimes, even in our spiritual practices, a person can be too involved in the practice to have room for the spiritual. One reason I encourage board members, especially board presidents, to take some time for themselves after their terms end is so they can re-access their spirituality after being so involved with the business of the church. Part of being a good congregation is taking turns so we don't lose the fullness of our spirituality and religion. And I know that I can't give all of spirituality and religion in every Sunday service. I realize that often in my preaching, I don't get directly to the Spirit, but instead speak of ways to approach our being religious and our being spiritual. I might mention world religions and pluralism, maybe how our Unitarian Universalist seeking and sometimes finding helps us to build a religious and spiritual life authentic to ourselves. Or I might speak about social justice activism and how we live our religion in the world. Or I urge us to love one another to help build the beloved community. We use head, hands, and heart, but sometimes we also need to emphasize the aspect of soul, a difficult definition for some. But for my talk today, consider soul to be our spiritual nature, maybe an aspect that grows from our combined experiences of head, hands, and heart. I make the point that we Unitarian Universalists, in all our variety and individuality, have different personal ways and approaches to religion and spirituality. And in our church, in our faith, we support one another in our seeking and sometimes finding, which includes spirituality. But there are times when I don't include the spiritual in my sermons. So today I bring it for some focus. Be spiritual. Live in the mystery of life, the universe, and everything, to use a phrase of author Douglas Adams. You don't need me to show you how. I think you've always had the spiritual with you and within you. I describe the spiritual with one key word: awe. It's our individual and common human wonderment about life, the universe, and everything. We don't all get to be outdoors on a dark night and see the Milky Way galaxy, of which our planet is a part, stretching out in the sky above us. But we still have awe of experiencing the vastness of the universe and wondering about our place in it. And the spiritual is not just great nature. The mystery of our own personhood, of families, good and difficult, of our growth from infancy to old age, carries with it spiritual awe. You can find something spiritual in just about everything if you're open to it, even in religion. You can be soulful. And you don't have to abandon science to have spirit. Paul Stephen Dodenhoff, a Unitarian Universalist minister who is also a Buddhist, has said, "The freedom to doubt, to question, to be content to live in mystery is central to the liberal religious tradition. Like the process of evolution itself, the path that we follow, our practice, is not easy or simple. It isn't without its dead ends or its disappointments. It doesn't guarantee that all of our conclusions will be final or that we will ever find an answer to all of our questions. But also, like the process of evolution, it is filled with great expressions of beauty and awe that are sometimes born of great struggle and at other times come as unexpected grace." Let me give you definitions or distinction between religion and spirituality, as put by author and Presbyterian minister Dwayne R. Bidwell in his book, "When One Religion Isn't Enough: The Lives of Spiritually Fluid People." In the book's introduction, he wrote that religion and spirituality are different and yet not different, distinct and closely related. He continued, "Both can be life-giving in general. I think of religion as the formal structures and practices that shape a community's relationship to mystery and to the world. As such, religions carry and speak with authority to particular communities that identify as part of the tradition. Religions are public expressions of a community's values, practices, and understandings. Spirituality overlaps with religion, but tends to be local and idiosyncratic. It expresses a person's way of relating to mystery through rituals, prayers, physical movements and postures, spiritual disciplines, beliefs, values, commitments, relationships, and other ways of connecting to the sacred while running errands, raising a family, and figuring out the meaning of life. Sometimes spirituality works through religious structures, communities, and traditions, but often it functions apart from them." And that ends Bidwell's quote. Religion and spirituality are two, but they're often together. Here's another pairing for our spirituality. Richard Rohr, a Franciscan brother whose writings on spirituality many people follow, including people in this congregation, wrote a piece for Lent, observed annually at this time of year by Christians, about two moments that I can identify with. This is what he wrote. "There are two moments that matter. One is when you know that your one and only life is absolutely valuable and alive. The other is when you know your life as presently lived is entirely pointless and empty. You need both of them to keep you going in the right direction. Lent is about both. The first such moment gives you energy and joy by connecting you with your ultimate source and ground. The second gives you limits and boundaries and a proper humility. So you keep seeking the source and ground and not just your small self. That is the quote. Spirituality includes source and ground, the connection, and the seeking. The time in our Sunday service when we have meditation, contemplation, and prayer is intended to give room for the spiritual, for grounding, and for seeking or bonding with your ultimate source. And knowing that it could be from either or both of those two moments Richard Rohr wrote about, that giving room for the spiritual is one reason why there's more than one word in the order of service, not just meditation or contemplation or prayer, but recognizing that we have different ways to access our spirituality. And meditation, contemplation, and prayer are closely related, I'd say, but they're not synonyms. And you don't reach your spiritual aspect in the same way. There are different ways of meditating, and sometimes the awe comes after the meditation, not during. Contemplation can be thinking rather than experiencing. And some prayer is spiritual ecstasy, while other prayer is far from spiritual. But meditation, contemplation, and prayer, I hope, help to make room for the spiritual. Whether you have a spiritual moment in the minute of silence or carry that time into your life, spirituality certainly isn't confined to Sundays in church. Most of you know that I don't include the supernatural in my humanist approach to religion. I want to give room for the unexplained, knowing that there's so much yet to be discovered about life and the cosmos. But I also don't dismiss another person's beliefs, including their concept of God and elements of what they understand to be supernatural. Mutual respect is important for peaceful coexistence, we might say. Margaret Fuller, a Unitarian leader in the Transcendentalist movement, said, "All around us lies what we neither understand nor use. Our capacities, our instincts for this, our present sphere, are but half developed. Let us confine ourselves to that till the lesson be learned. Let us be completely natural before we trouble ourselves with the supernatural. I never see any of these things, but I long to get away and lie under a green tree and let the wind blow on me. There is marvel and charm enough in that for me." To me, that lying under the tree, feeling the wind, is authentic spirituality. We have the two words, religion and spirituality, and the two moments for the combination of source and ground. Three practices, which can be spiritual, of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Three more words, doubt, and mystery and evolution. There's soul too. And the singular word, awe. Seek out the awe. Look outward, of course, but also look within. Yes, you're awesome too. All of these enter into spirituality. Be spiritual. A lot of being spiritual is do it yourself, I think, because spirituality can be so individual. That might be one aspect of why I don't always include the spiritual in my sermons. But being spiritual is also being together and cultivating religious practices better to support our seeking and finding spirit. It's your inward turning after experiencing wonder, whether that wondering is outside or in yourself. It's awe. And one more thing about being spiritual. It affirms our congregation's mission of fostering spiritual growth and compassionate action. Remember, and our vision to be a vibrant, inclusive spiritual community that achieves growth, visibility, and relevance. Be spiritual, so be it.
It's now time for our offering. We have a basket up front here in the church, and there's a basket in the entranceway where you can, those of you who are here, can place a donation. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can give to us, give to this church by going to uutoledo.org and click on online giving. That's a convenient, easy, quick way to help support our church and its mission. Or if you are a little old-fashioned, you can get out a check and make it out to First Unitarian Church of Toledo and send it to here, 3205 Glendale Avenue, Toledo, Ohio, 43614. We deeply appreciate anything you give. It's your giving that helps keep this, that makes this church go and function and be together as a community. So it's important, and it's not so much the amount you give, but the fact that you give, and if you can, give regularly. We do so appreciate your support.
Now, for coming soon, next Sunday's Spiritual Adventures Forum at 9:45 a.m. on Zoom is on the Alzheimer's Association, and it will be presented by Pam Myers, who is with the Maumee Alzheimer's Association. And next Sunday's service at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary and on YouTube, I'll be speaking on the title, Early.
And coming even sooner, after today's service, social time and coffee hour. Please join us in Fellowship Hall for those of you who are here. I have these closing words by Heather Ryan Starr. May I move gently through this cloudy, murky, gray day. May I remember that this is just one day, and that showing up is at least half of what is asked of me. May I set aside my underlying anxiety that I will not get to everything and put my trust and faith onto the riverbank of human community. We are working together. I am not alone. There is a love holding me that is unconcerned with my day's to-do list and more concerned about my spiritual survival, even its thriving in this beautiful, challenging world. May we all remember that Rome wasn't built in a day, that our efforts are part of an ongoing stream of efforts, of lives being lived beside one another, shoring up this world. May what little I do today be for the greater good. May I be gentle with others today as I long for others to be gentle with me. May it be so.
And as Terry extinguishes the chalice, we send the flame into the community in spirit. May the flame of our faith help us to know and have awe.